So tonight we are looking at the Big Peat Bruges edition, 48% ABV, blended malt from the distilleries of Golilah, Bowmore, Ardbeg, Port Ellen. It is bottled by Douglas Lane, bottled in 2021, the number of bottles 600, and it is made for the Belgium market, hence the Bruges edition, and cost around €60 for the bottle. Please remember to like and subscribe, leave a comment, what whiskey would you like me to review in the future, and remember, drink responsibly. Big Peat Bruges edition. Color-wise, it is very light. There's absolutely no way that there's any coloring in this one. Of course, 48% ABV, so non-chill filtered. It is a very light straw color. And if I look at the legs, quite fast, thin legs, not a lot of viscosity, but definitely a very light in color. So on to the nosing and tasting of this Big Peat Bruges edition. Cheers! Now the first thing that I do pick up is a lovely, light, citrusy, sweet notes coming out. Now it's only 40 ppm, 40 parts per million on the phenols, so on the smoky note. So not quite the Big Peat that you would expect it to be. I think if you look at the Ardbeg, the Lefroy, it's normally is about 44, 45 ppm, so just a little bit less than the Ardbeg 10. So, but there's a lovely sweetness coming out. The smoke is definitely there, but it is a nice smoke. There's a border between the smoky. It is not a hospital type of smoke, but it's also not a savory type of smoke. It's a little bit in between for me, but it's definitely, it does show up on the nose. And what I also realized, if you give it a little bit of time, I did pour it a while ago, and after some time you climatize to the smoke and it tends to go a little bit down, and it gives you access to the nice notes in the background. So get some nice sweet vanilla. There's a hint of a cinnamon on top of that vanilla also coming out. And then I also get a hint of a toffee note, but not an overly sweet toffee. It's just a hint of that toffee note in the back for me. So the alcohol, it is 48% ABV. Definitely get the alcohol, especially if you do a little bit of agitation, a little bit of a shaky. When you get that youthfulness, no idea how old the whiskey is, but I get that little bit of a nail polish remover, a little bit of a paint thinner, especially with the agitation. So sometimes it's not a good idea to agitate. I also get something like a lemon meringue coming out. So on top of that sweetness, that little bit of a lemon citrusy note coming out, I get that sweetness of a lemon meringue, or the nice meringue part. Absolutely fantastic. I do love the nose. Now I remember when I did a review of the ordinary Big Peat at 46%, I was a little bit surprised, and I think for me, when you pick up a bottle that says Big Peat, there's a promise of something, and that promise for me was that Big Peat. I was a little bit disappointed in it, and wasn't a big fan of peat 6-7 months ago, maybe a year ago, and I've changed my attitude towards the peated ones, and I must say I enjoy peated whiskey now. And I think that all started after my COVID, after my little spell of my COVID problems. I seem to like the peated whiskey a little bit more. maybe the sense of smell has not returned 100%, but I do enjoy it. There's also a hint of a little bit of a sawdust, a little bit of a oaky sawdust, especially reminds me of my dad's garage when he's busy making some nice furniture, and he always loved to use oak, so a little bit of a dusty note coming out. And with a little bit of a time, it does become less peated and a little bit more perfumey. Lovely on the nose. On the taste, cheers. Sweet, hot from the 48% ABV, and then you get that hint of a peat or a light peat, but again not over powerful, and I think it tips the scale a little bit to the medicinal type of smoke coming out, or maybe a little bit of an iodine type of smoke, or maybe even a hint of a TCP, but it is still very pleasant, just to make sure. It is so sweet. I think that is one of the sweetest whiskey that I have tasted in a long time. It reminds me of something that, if you would ask me blind tasting, I would have said definitely a little bit of a sherry influence in it because of the lovely sweetness. But of course, I don't think there is any sherry in it, but it is lovely sweet. Every time I go back to the nose, it does change a little bit for me. That 40 ppm definitely doesn't feel like 40 ppm for me. It feels a lot less, maybe 25, maybe up to 20 or 35, somewhere in that direction. But it's well balanced. You have that little sweetness coming out. You have a little bit of an oakiness coming out, just a hint of it. And you have that peat coming out, but it's all working well together. Absolutely fantastic. Love it. Just want to give it one more try. Absolutely a keeper. I think this will be perfect in winter time. It's 27 degrees here in Belgium. So I think this is definitely something for winter, not a sipping one for summertime, especially at this high ABV. Definitely not going to add any water to it. This one is perfect for me the way it is. Now the first thing that also come to mind, what is the difference between this one, the Bruges edition, compared to the original one, the 46% ABV one. So I thought it's a good idea to just do a comparison. Luckily, I still have a sample left of it. I poured this one at the same time. Both are samples, so just a reminder that I don't always buy big bottles. Sometimes I buy it as a sample, try it before you buy a full bottle. So both are samples, fresh samples. So this one is the original. I have the little sample bottle. So this is what it looks like. This is the original Big Peat. It's 46% ABV, an Islay blended malt Scotch whiskey. And if I compare them color-wise, they are absolutely identical. There's no difference between the two color-wise. The nose from the original 46%, it feels a little bit earthier for me. This one, the Bruges edition, it's a little bit more lighter for me, a little bit more perfumey for me, a little bit more sweeter for me. On the original 46% ABV, it feels like there's a hint of a floor polish or varnish to it. It smells a little bit darker. I don't know how to describe it, but it feels like there's a little bit of a depth in flavors in this one. This one seems a little bit more youthful for me. On the taste, on the old 46% or original 46. It's a little bit flat for me. There's no liveliness. It's less sweet than the Bruges edition. Just want to make sure. This one, the Bruges edition, for me is so much better, so much lighter, so much sweeter, so much liveliness in it. A little bit of a teenager for me, and this one seems a little bit of an old man type of nose and taste, if that makes sense. So just give it one more try. But they are both really nice. I think a lot of people will not really pick up the differences between the two, especially if you don't have them side by side. But definitely there's a difference on the nose, and there's definitely a difference on the taste. Now I can also see that 2% ABV will make things a little bit lighter. So I suspect if you add a little bit of water, you might end up with the same thing. So the only difference that I can think of, maybe a little bit of a difference in age, maybe a little bit difference between the cask that they are using. Maybe this cask gave a little bit more. And on the newer one, I do like the newer one. So in the end, both are likable, both are drinkable, both will be perfect for a nice winter's evening in front of the fireplace. Absolutely fantastic. Definitely would recommend buy any of them. There is quite a lot of different editions from Big Peat. They keep on bringing out new editions. So if you can find the Bruges edition, absolutely I recommend it. Go buy it, try it. There is 600 bottles. I will definitely go pick up one as soon as possible. So thank you very much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and I see you next time. Cheers.